All right, let's get right into it. Because if you're a Claude user, you really need to pay attention to this. There's been a pretty critical update to their privacy policy. And honestly, depending on your account and your settings, you might not be nearly as protected as you think you are. So let's just cut to the chase. The big question on everyone's mind: is Claude training on your private data? We're talking your conversations, your client work, maybe even your secret business strategies. Well, here's the thing. The answer to that question, it completely changed back in September of 2025. What used to be a really simple no is now, well, it's a much more complicated it depends. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now. All right, first things first, let's look at what actually changed. Before this whole update, Anthropic was kind of famous for being one of the few AI companies that did not train on user data by default. That was their whole thing. But yeah, that's not quite the full picture anymore. So this timeline really tells the whole story. Before September 2025, everything was privacy by default. Super simple. Your data was safe unless you went out of your way to say, yep, go ahead and use my stuff. But after these new terms rolled out, it completely flipped to privacy by choice, at least for some of us. And that means training is now on by default, and it's on you to go in and turn it off. Okay, so who exactly does this affect? This right here is probably the single most important part of this whole thing. You've got to understand that the difference between a consumer account and a commercial account. Because if you get this wrong, you could be making a really big mistake. And here it is, the big divide. Over on the left, you've got consumer accounts. We're talking free, pro, and even the max plan. For all of these, that model training switch, it's now flipped on by default. But on the right, you have the commercial accounts. That's work, enterprise, and API access. For those, training is never on. It's just not allowed. It's actually in the contract. Now, take a good look at this table, especially those middle two rows. This is where a lot of people are getting tripped up. See that? Paying for Claude Pro or Claude Max does not automatically protect you. They're still considered consumer accounts. That means if you want your data private, you have to go into your settings and opt out. No exceptions. And this quote from a legal analysis it hits the nail on the head. We all have this gut feeling, right? If I pay for a product, my data gets treated better. But in this case, that gut feeling is just flat out wrong. When it comes to data training, a paid pro account and a free account are treated exactly the same. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, but here's the good news. The fix is super, super easy. Seriously, you can take back control of your data in like 30 seconds. Let me just walk you through it right now. Here you go, 5 simple steps on your computer. Just click your profile icon down in the corner, hit Settings, then go to the Privacy tab. You'll see a section for model training. Just flick that toggle to off, and boom, you're done. That one little click stops any of your future chats from being used. And hey, if you're on your phone, don't sweat it. The process is pretty much identical. Just tap the menu, find your settings, go to Privacy, and you'll see that same little toggle waiting for you.
Okay, so you've turned it off. Great. But what did we actually just stop from happening? What does leaving that thing on really mean for your data? Because it's not just about training the AI. It's also about how long they keep your stuff.
Get this, 5 years. If you leave that training setting on, Anthropic can hold onto your conversations for up to 5 years. That is a huge jump from the old 30-day policy. Just think about that for a second. A strategy you brainstorm today could still be sitting in their systems in 2030. For anyone dealing with sensitive info, that's a pretty serious risk. So when that training is on, what are they looking at? Well, basically everything. Your prompts, Claude's answers, new chats, old chats you reopen, the whole shebang. But there are a couple of important things they don't use. First, like we said, any data from those commercial accounts is totally off limits. And second, and this is a big one, anything you've already deleted is safe. So that's good news. All right, let's talk about the big one, the question that probably keeps you up at night. If my data gets used for training, can my private info, my secret sauce, show up in someone else's chat response? The short answer is, thankfully, no, not directly. Claude isn't going to just copy-paste your private conversation and give it to another user. But, and this is a really important but, your data does get absorbed. It becomes part of the model's DNA, you could say. It helps shape its logic, how it reasons, the patterns it sees. So while it won't blab your secrets verbatim, it is absolutely learning from them. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So to make sure you've got all your bases covered, let's run through a quick final checklist. Think of this as your personal Claude privacy audit.
All right, here we go. Number one, and this is the most important. Go into your settings right now and make sure that model training toggle is off. Two, take a minute to scroll back and delete any old chats with sensitive info. Three, double check what kind of account you actually have, consumer or commercial. And hey, if you're using this for work, it might be time to really think about whether Claude for Work is a better fit. And finally, do your team a favor. Shoot them a message and remind them to check their own settings. This affects everybody.
At the end of the day, this whole thing is bigger than just Claude. Your AI is smart, for sure, but are its default settings smart for you? The question really is, are your settings smarter? It's really up to all of us to stay on top of this stuff, to make sure these incredible tools are working for us and doing it safely. So please, take those 30 seconds. Go check your settings today.